The royal insiders have claimed that Prince Harry wants to mend ties with his estranged brother William for his royal title and Meghan Markle's business. According to a report by The Closer, the Duke is very aware of rumored threat that he and his wife Meghan will be stripped of their royal titles when William becomes king. Therefore, he wants to act sooner rather than later to protect his own standing. The insider tells the outlet. As much as this is about him, Prince Harry, wanting to mend things from an emotional standpoint, there's no way to ignore the fact that getting back into William's good graces is important from a business perspective too. The close sources warned the Duke, if this feud is still raging when William takes the throne, it will have very real consequences on his title, which will inevitably affect his and Meghan's bottom line. So the time to make this happen is now. Before William is totally in charge, and while Charles is still around to help broker some sort of peace deal, the insiders advised to Harry. They continued, Harry swears he just wants his brother back, that this has nothing to do with protecting his title, but of course, people are suspicious of his motives, especially William. The fresh claims came days after Prince Harry, Meghan Markle and their children Archie and Lilibet reunited with King Charles in Britain in their efforts to make peace. However, Kate Middleton and Prince William snubbed the California-based royal couple. There's a rumor quietly circulating in the corridors of power that Prince Harry, the same man who sat down with Oprah Winfrey and told the world the royal family had failed him, the same man who wrote a memoir that read like a grenade thrown through the gates of Buckingham Palace, is now reaching out. Reaching out to the brother he accused of physical assault. Reaching out to the institution he said nearly broke him. And the reason, sources suggest, may have less to do with forgiveness and more to do with something Harry has wanted back for a very long time: his title. To understand why this moment matters, you have to go back further than most people realize. When Harry and Meghan made their dramatic exit from royal life in early 2020, the palace moved quickly. Within weeks, the terms were set out with remarkable precision. The Sussexes would keep their Duke and Duchess titles. Harry remains a prince by birth, and that cannot simply be stripped away, but they would lose their HRH styling. His Royal Highness, Her Royal Highness. 4 letters that in the world of the British monarchy carry enormous weight, not just ceremonially but practically. The HRH distinction separates working royals from the wider extended family. It signals proximity to the crown. It opens doors, commands deference, and in the peculiar ecosystem of global celebrity, it confers a legitimacy that no Netflix deal or Spotify contract can replicate. Harry grew up understanding that distinction in his bones. He was born into it. And reports suggest that years into his California life, the absence of that formal recognition has quietly gnawed at him in ways he has not always been willing to admit publicly. Palace insiders have noted that while Meghan has built an identity independent of the monarchy, her lifestyle brand, her return to acting projects, her advocacy work, Harry's public persona remains inextricably tied to his royal origins. He is, in almost every meaningful sense, still defined by who he was before Montecito. The relationship between Harry and William has been described by those close to both men as one of the most complicated royal dynamics in living memory. These were 2 brothers forged by shared grief. The loss of their mother Diana in 1997 bound them in a way that the public understood intuitively, and the palace never quite knew how to manage. For years, they were a unit. They laughed together at official engagements, presented a unified front through the early years of their marriages, and seemed to outside observers like proof that the monarchy could modernize without fracturing. But sources close to both camps have indicated that the tensions began far earlier than most people knew. There were disagreements about how Meghan was being treated, certainly, but there were also deeper wounds, conversations that went badly, interventions that felt like interference, and a fundamental difference in how each man understood his duty to the institution. William, as heir to the throne, has always seen the crown as something to be protected, sometimes at personal cost. Harry, sources suggest, came to see it as something that had cost him enough already. The publication of Spare in January 2023 was the point of no return, or so it seemed. The book laid bare details that even those sympathetic to Harry's position found difficult to defend. The account of a physical altercation with William, the claim that Charles had told Harry he wasn't sure he was truly his son, the suggestion that the late Queen's most trusted advisors had briefed against Meghan. These weren't vague allegations. They were specific, named, and delivered with the confidence of someone who believed he had nothing left to lose. And yet, reports emerging from sources familiar with the situation suggest that private conversations have been taking place. Not through the formal palace channels, those have been largely frozen since the Oprah interview, but through intermediaries. Mutual friends, distant family members who still maintain relationships on both sides. People who understand what is at stake and who have, according to accounts, been carefully sounding out the possibility of something that once seemed unthinkable. a genuine reconciliation between the brothers. What Harry is said to want is a restoration of his royal standing. Not a full return to working royal life. Those close to him insist that door, from his perspective, closed permanently, but a formal acknowledgement, an invitation back into the family fold in some capacity. And critically, sources indicate the return of the HRH styling for himself and potentially for Meghan. It is a significant ask, and those familiar with William's current position suggest that the Prince of Wales has not yet been moved. The moment everything shifted came at a funeral. Not Diana's, which was the first great rupture in the public's understanding of royal family dynamics, and not Philip's in 2021, where Harry famously flew back and the brothers walked together behind the coffin while the cameras watched their every footstep for signs of warmth. This was the funeral of a close family friend, a private ceremony largely away from the cameras. And it was there, according to well-placed sources, that Harry and William found themselves in the same room for a sustained period for the first time in years. What was said between them has not been disclosed. But those present noted that the atmosphere was, against all expectation, not hostile. Palace observers have been cautious about reading too much into a single encounter. Royals are trained from birth to perform cordiality under pressure. The ability to stand next to someone you are in profound conflict with and show the world nothing is, as palace insiders dryly observe, practically a job requirement. But the significance of this meeting has been noted at the highest levels. King Charles, whose health has been the subject of ongoing concern following his cancer diagnosis, is said, according to reports, to be quietly encouraging of any thaw in relations. He has lost enough, sources suggest. He does not wish to lose his sons to each other. The consequences of this potential reconciliation, however, extend well beyond family sentiment. There are those within the palace who view any restoration of Harry's HRH with deep skepticism, and they are not wrong to point out the complications. Harry and Meghan do not operate within the structures and constraints that govern working royals. They give paid speeches. They have commercial partnerships. They use their royal identities as the foundation of a commercial enterprise in ways that the palace has always maintained are incompatible with the HRH styling. Restoring that title without restoring the responsibilities that traditionally accompany it would set a precedent the institution is deeply reluctant to create. And then there is Meghan's business empire to consider. Her lifestyle brand has been growing steadily, and reports suggest it is performing well commercially. The brand is built in part on Meghan's identity as someone who stepped
Bring my wife back to this country.
Prince Harry
away from the constraints of royal life and built something on her own terms. There is a question, and it is not a small one, about whether a formal return to royal standing would complicate or compromise that positioning. Would the palace's restrictions on commercial activity apply? Would Meghan be expected to curtail partnerships that have become the financial backbone of what she has built? These are not abstract questions. They are the practical realities that any genuine reconciliation would have to navigate, and sources suggest that no one has yet produced answers that satisfy all parties. What we are watching, if these reports are accurate, is something genuinely unprecedented. A royal who left on some of the most dramatic terms in modern history, who wrote a best-selling memoir describing his family in terms that cannot easily be walked back, is now said to be testing the waters for return. Not full return, not a press tour of official engagements, but something, some acknowledgement, some restoration. It forces a question that goes to the heart of what the monarchy is and what it is for. Is it a family capable of forgiveness and reunion, or is it an institution governed by rules that cannot be bent without consequence? Can it be both? And if Harry were to return to some form of royal standing, what does that say about everything that came before, every interview, every allegation, every page of that memoir?